Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Jason, of course, with Winning Bets. I didn't think I was going to have time to do a NASCAR preview show. Of course, that's what I mentioned on last week's episode with you guys. As I mentioned, I was going to be on vacation this week. That's exactly where I am. So I apologize for poor lighting and also maybe any poor audio. Just, yeah, on vacation and not in the normal studio with the normal setup. With that being said, I see the audio is a little hot. So let me go ahead and bring that down. Okay, got ahead and brought that down. Yeah, I'm excited to go ahead and talk about this upcoming race with you guys. I'm going to go ahead and do this live. I didn't know when I was going to find time this week to go ahead and pull this off on vacation. The moment is now, so we'll go ahead and see if we can't squeeze in this week's NASCAR show on the Highline podcast. Not with William Blackwell again due to the vacation issue, so it'll just be myself, and hopefully we'll get William back in here this coming the following week. We'll remind everybody what we do around here. We'll of course look back on last week, the Ambetter 301 there at the New Hampshire Speedway. And then, of course, we'll preview the upcoming race here at the Pocono, the M&M Fan Appreciation 400. And we'll, of course, give you our picks for a chance to win $10,000 over on the Nbc Sports Predictor app and then another $1,000 on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Before I jump into looking back at the Ambetter 300, how about Chicago? Everybody knows I live in Chicago, or at least I think most people do. If you're a new supporter here of the show, welcome and thank you. I am from Chicago, so just wanted to kick off and saying we all knew that the rumor of Chicago getting a street race was going to happen. Well, it became official yesterday. So July 4th weekend, they'll be in Chicago, in my hometown. I'm definitely going to get down there. I haven't been to a race since Bristol. And that was, let's see, I moved to Chicago in 2017. So that's five years right there. I probably haven't been to a race in 7-ish years. So, and that was that Bristol race. So I'm definitely looking forward to first ever street race in NASCAR, and it's coming to the hometown there in Chicago. So pumped about that. Just wanted to mention that. It's big time news. So had to let that, had to go ahead and throw in a mention there for that one. Let's now turn our attention to this Ambetter 301. Again, it was at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I thought it was a good race. Quite simply put, I thought it was a good race. Look, in stage one, I know it was a long green flag. Obviously, you had the incident there earlier on between the 31 and the 42 getting into it. And obviously, it collected a couple other drivers, including Alex Bowman. You heard Alex Bowman interview after the race. Simply put, he said it. He can't qualify right there. You cannot qualify right there. The 31, the 42, you can list other car numbers. Those guys aren't winning races. I mean, it's not a knock on them. They're going up against better drivers, and also they're not in as good of equipment, obviously, as these big boy teams, and they're not going to win. And if you want to be a winner like Alex Bowman is, and he's on a good team, obviously, with Hendrick, you can't be starting in that position and putting yourself in the opportunity to maybe be collected into their wreckage. And that's exactly what happened to Alex Bowman. That's now what they say during the broadcast. Was it like 3-5 or 3-4 DNS for him? He's just on an absolute terrible run. He needs to, go ahead and get over that. But otherwise, yeah, stage one, after that early incident, it was a long green flag run. Martin Truex Jr. dominated, but I still thought it, even stage one was good, even though it was a long green flag run and Truex pulled away from the field. You had passes throughout the field, which I thought made this race good. And there were only a couple lead changes. You had, obviously, you had Truex in the beginning. And then you had Elliott, Truex passing Logano, because there were some pit strategies there throughout that race that had guys in the lead that you knew probably weren't going to stay in the lead unless their strategy paid off and they were able to get a caution. Outside of that, there weren't really lead changes. Then you obviously had the ones there at the end with Elliott and Bell. But to me, plenty of passes throughout the field, which made this race intriguing. Stage two was kind of similar to stage one. You had that early caution there with Kyle Busch taking a spin. Then you had another wreck there with three cars with the LaJoy. Burton was in there, and Michael McDowell was in there. And then there was another kind of like a long green flag run. And then you saw some strategy. You saw Logano and Cindric and Buescher. All those cars kind of stayed out. That's what I'm talking about. If it wasn't really like Truex or Bell or Elliott kind of challenging for the lead and taking over lead changes, it came down to really pit strategy, which what you needed to, because track position was key. You heard the broadcast team say it was all about track position. So why not try and use a little strategy right there? Hope you can get another caution, and now you're firmly back in the mix. It just didn't quite pay off from those teams. You saw lots of teams with different strategies. You saw fuel only. You saw 2 tires, 4 tires, just lots of different strategies really throughout that entire race. And when it comes down to pit strategy. Otherwise, Blaney obviously took a spin there in stage two. Stage three, though, was the interesting one to me because watched that entire race and thought, boy, Truex is going to need, a penalty on pit road, which is he certainly had his fair share of those. And actually, JGR has had their fair share of penalties on pit road. I thought that's what it would take. But Truex's car just dropped off. I mean, just absolutely dropped off. And then it became a race of Elliott and Bell there at the end. And Bell, did what he basically did last season, which he was charging down Almirola and ran out of laps. Well, this time he didn't run out of laps. I was able to pass Elliott, get by him, and then actually kind of pull away a little bit. And Bell get a little bit of dominance now at this track. Obviously, really strong showing last year. Winner this year, was strong in the Xfinity car every time they would come to New Hampshire. Bell is definitely a guy that, for whatever reason, gets his setup, likes his track, just nails it, actually. And I actually thought going into stage 3, it was going to be between Truex, Harvick, and Elliott. Like, if you would have sat here and said, what were the 3 better cars that day, the best cars that day, I thought it was Truex, Harvick, and Elliott. And Bell showed up there in the third stage and absolutely made the adjustments and turned up and did what he needed to do. So I was fantastic. Like I said, maybe not a lot of lead changes, but I thought enough passing through the field, which made it intriguing. I thought obviously a lot of pit strategies also made it intriguing because you were kind of curious if another caution was going to come out and if that strategy was going to pay off. So I had no problem with the race. I had no problem with the race at the Embedded 301 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Thought it was good. I thought it was absolutely good, despite the lack of lead changes. Because the field had the field had passing. What about Chase Elliott though too? I know the broadcast team said that too. Boy, he was one of the rare drivers that were putting the left side of the tires on the apron and just riding that line and just really making up serious time. It seemed like lap after lap. The broadcast team said it right. If you were going to try it, you can't try that for a lap or two because it's going to take a lap or two for you to even find your marks that you need to hit to run those lines. And now you got to run it 3, 4, 5 lines to see if your car can pull off the same thing Chase Elliott can do. And Chase Elliott was running that line beautifully, putting the left sides down on that apron, and just seemed like he was one of the cars that was making passes relatively easy. He was a fast one. Like I said, 3 best cars of the day: Truex, Harvick, Elliott. Truex's car just fell off in stage 3. I mean, absolutely fell off. Still got a top 10, but boy, did it absolutely fell off. So, yeah, that's how I would shape up the Embedded 301. I thought it was a good race. Had no problems with it. That was good. So let's go ahead and now move over to the M&M Fan Appreciation. Got the Pocono. Let me see. Oh, no, the butcher's closed. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. My wife was texting me. I told you I was doing this live. Didn't know I was going to fit it in. They're on their way back from the store, so I need to get this thing quick. They've got the M&M Fan Appreciation 400 down there at the Pocono Raceway. That's where they'll be at this weekend. Big flat track, 2.5 mile. It's kind of a unique track. I try and sit here, week in, week out, and give you guys some good comps. This is kind of a unique track, a little tricky triangle, obviously, as they call it. Last year we were here at the doubleheader. You guys remember it was really the Kyle Larson show and Kyle Busch show. Those guys were dominant when we were here last year. Kyle Larson, unfortunately, did not get the win. You remember his was the one on Saturday where he passes his teammate Alex Bowman with, what was that, like 10 or so laps to go, and then just looked like he was going to parade around for the last 10 laps and, get in the victory lane. And last turn, last lap, blew a tire. Blew a tire and sends his car to the wall. Lets obviously the field go ahead and pass him. I think he still managed a top 10 finish, 7th or 8th or what have you. But Alex Bowman won the first race, and then Kyle Busch won on Sunday with a broken car. I can't remember quite what it was, but I remember, was it like he couldn't shift or something was broken in the car? Because I just remember, you guys watch this broadcast enough. I'm not a big fan of Kyle Busch, but that's just typical of like, how dang on good he is. He can overcome a broken car. Something, I believe it was his shifter that was broken, but he drove the whole thing and had a broken car and still was able to, get it in the victory lane on Sunday's race last year on the doubleheader. So good stuff. Like I said, Larson was strong. He basically finished first and second. Kyle Busch finished second and first in the 2 races. Yeah, absolute domination by the Kyles last year. So where do we sit now this year? Well, we're down to 14 winners. Or we've got 14 winners, I should say, 6 races remaining, so it's getting tight. It's absolutely getting tight, and we've never had a season where there's been 17 winners. So if you're on that bubble, your Truexes, your Harvicks, you need to win a race. Your Blaney, you need to win a race. You just need to win a race to go ahead and secure, safety, so to speak, and hope that then there's not a 17th winner, and then you get in a whole mess of points and stuff. So, yeah, like I said, 6 races, 14 unique winners. We'll see how this one unfolds. I'm looking forward to it. Tricky triangle. I wish there was a doubleheader because I remember sitting back last year watching both of those races on back-to-back days and enjoyed it. I like it when they come to Pocono. I think it's good racing. Like this track. We're only here once this year. It is what it is. So, all right. Family's on its way back. So let me go ahead and run through this. Let's go ahead and get into the NBC Sports Predictor app. Of course, you can win $10,000. You got to correctly answer all 3 stages. and then go ahead and give them a top three. I've been giving away $25 each and every single week. Let's see who won it this week. It looks like we've got lucky winner. Yes, you are a lucky winner, my man, with 50 points, although not all that lucky because you got 2 of the 3 stages correctly and you put Wallace and Elliott in your top 3. So lucky winner, but not a lucky entry. Congratulations there. Hit me up on Twitter and I'll go ahead and send you $25 via PayPal. If you're not in the group, all you got to do is grab that information from this video description, compete against your fellow Winning Bet supporters, and take my $25. With that being said, let me go ahead and jump into my picks. I'll, of course, do the stages first. I went with Kyle Busch. Obviously, just incredibly strong here last year. Even last week, spinning twice last week at New Hampshire. He was still able to battle back last week and get a 12th place finish. Fantastic. He's got 4 wins at Pocono. 10 of his last 11 have all been in the top 10. His lone miss was due to a wreck. So it tells me right there, if he doesn't wreck, he's going to be running strong. He'll be running a top 10 car all day. So like that right there. I will say there's a little bit of a caveat. I will look at practice and qualifying like I did last week because if you're following me on Twitter, I got this question wrong on this video, but right overall because I tweeted a change to my entry. I tweeted a change and went to Bubba Wallace after watching qualifying and practice. So right now I'll go with Kyle Busch. All right, make sure you're following me on Twitter. Maybe we make another change. But boy, Kyle Busch been just dominant here amongst drivers. He's pinned up against this group. His driver rating is better than guys in this group by 20 points. 20 points. Just dominating these guys. So in stage 2, as you can see right there, I went with the number 5. Again, basically first and second last season. Just nailed his setup. There's no reason why they can't nail the setup again, this Sunday and absolutely dominate the field here and give him a good run. It was between him and Elliott. I picked Elliott last week and got it right here in stage 2. It was between him and Elliott. Elliott's obviously not a bad pick if you want to go with him. He is the hot hand. Keep in mind, though, the 5 team is getting Cliff Daniels back as their crew chief. He's been away for their 4-week suspension for when they lost that wheel. Well, Cliff Daniels will be back in the box there for the number 5 team. I think that'll be enough just kind of maybe push him. Just give that team confidence, right? You got your crew chief back. Everybody should be feeling good getting Cliff Daniels back. So I'll go ahead and go with 5 team and Kyle Larson. And then for number 3 there, I went with Denny Blaney. Best average finish, best driver rating in the group, and really of all. He's got the best driver rating and average finish of all the drivers, let alone guys in this group. His last 6 here at Pocono, 2 wins, 4 top 5s, 5 top 10s. His worst in those last 6 is 14th. He's going to be up there. He's going to be up there. Maybe some struggles this season. Maybe he can't quite find that consistency, but I think his team will be able to put together a good car, one that he, and a track that obviously he really likes. So I'll go ahead and do him. At Denny Hamlin with stage 3. Let's go ahead and get to the full picks now. I'm going to go ahead and do first place Kyle Larson. God, was he dominant last year. Dominant here last year. He's in both races. Like I said, Kyle Busch was dominant too. That's why I've got him in the top 3. I'm going to go with Chase Elliott. Look, in the last 4 races, he's been in first or second in the last 4 races in each one of those. So I'm just going to ride the hot hand. He's absolutely on fire. Going to ride the hot hand. And then third, I'll go with Kyle Busch. I'll go ahead and go with Kyle Busch. So, yeah, expect him to be strong. All right, let's do the Fox Bet Super 6 app, and then I'm going to attempt to get back to the family. Again, I didn't think I'd be able to squeeze it in at all this week. I was really glad to have a moment to jump on here. I really wanted to talk about that Ambetter 301. I thought that was a really good race. I know, again, not a lot of lead changes, but I thought it was a good race, simply put. I enjoyed that Ambetter 301. Look forward to this week. Wish there was 2 races at Pocono. So you guys know how I like to do the Fox Bet Super 6 app. I have not looked at these questions yet. This will just be off the top of my head, whatever I'm kind of feeling based on research and feeling and what have you. So let's get into it. Which driver will finish in the best position at the end of stage 1? It's Elliott, Blaney, Chastain, Larson, Logano, and Busch. I'll go Larson. How many Chevys will finish in the top 10 at the end of stage 1? 4. Which of these drivers will finish in the worst position at the end of stage 2? Bubba Wallace, Stenhouse, Ty Dillon, Cole Custer, Haley, or Buescher. I'll go Ty Dillon. Which Coca-Cola driver will finish in the top 5 at the end of stage 2? Top 5 at the end of stage 2 is Hamlin, Suarez, Logano, Dillon, more than one or none. I'll go Denny Hamlin. At the end of this race, which team will have more cars in the top 5, and how many cars will it be? It's between Joe Gibbs and Hendrick. I think Hendrick will have Larson, Elliott, and maybe a Bowman or Byron can sneak in there for Joe Gibbs. It'll be Hamlin, Busch. Not all those can fit in the top 5, though. More likely is Larson, Elliott, because Elliott's on fire and Larson does really daggone good here. So I'm going Hendrick, and I'll give him 2. Hendrick and 2. Which driver will have the better finish at the end of the race and by how many positions? It's Larson versus Kyle Busch. I'm going to go Larson, but it's going to be 1-2. That's how strong I think both of those cars will be this week. So I will go Larson, and I'll only say 1-2. I think they both have an opportunity to finish 1-2, maybe 1-3, something like that, like I put on the NBC. And if my NBC picks hit, then I'll be right? Because Larson got 1, and I've just picked a difference of 1-2. Kyle Busch would be in 3. So I like that actually right there. I like how that meshes with both of those. So, all right. All right, guys, that's how we're doing it. I'm going to go ahead and run. Again, just glad I was able to find, a handful of minutes to go ahead and get in there. Enjoy the races Sunday, and we will see you back at the next one next week. Hopefully we'll have William. We better have William. I think our schedules will align next week. So, all right, guys, have a good one.